Hi, everybody. This is Maya Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary. And we are at our special Zoom link for our members of my free Facebook group. Our free Facebook group is called Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. And every month we have a free Zoom class, especially for members of this free community group. And then after we have the class, we upload the recording to my public YouTube channel. So if you're watching the replay, you might be watching the replay on the Facebook group, the community Facebook group, or you might be watching the replay on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called Psychic Protection Sanctuary. So if you haven't, so if you're watching live and you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I upload things onto that channel all the time. Okay, so I'm so excited to connect with all of you. As always, I like to get our announcements over with. I just have a couple of quick announcements. These are important ones today. And then we're going to get into our lesson. So I am going to be teaching you things today. This is not going to be just banter. This is going to be a lesson. So grab a pen and paper. I'm going to be teaching you the 5 most common types of spiritual entities. I realized that we needed to cover this topic, the 5 different types of entities. At some point last month, we had a question in my paid academy, Spiritual Empowerment Academy, my paid mentoring program. And some of my more advanced members who'd been in the program for a while, so there was a question about what type of entity am I dealing with? And some of the more advanced members were saying, well, we don't know like how to tell the difference between the entities. And I said, oh my goodness, well, we definitely need to fix that. We need to have a lesson about different types of entities. Now, because that's a basic thing. That's like foundational. We definitely need to have that. In this free monthly class that happens on the first Tuesday every month, we always cover foundational, basic beginner content. So this topic is perfect. By the way, there is a section in my second book, the Psychicattack Sourcebook, where I do teach about common types of entities. I'm going to cover some of those today and some different ones today in our class. So there is already content out there about some of the different types of entities, but sometimes it helps to just have the content in a different way. So now this time you get to hear me talking about it instead of reading it in the book. So let's go over some announcements before we get into our lesson. And the first reminder is that I invite you to use the chat option. We're going to use Zoom today kind of like a Facebook Live because we probably aren't going to have time to have each of you come on and talk and ask questions. Again, we'll treat this more like a Facebook Live where you use the chat option so you can talk with each other. You can say hi. And at the beginning of any of these classes, a common thing that we do is we say hello and where we're joining from. And so after I'm done with announcements, I will open up the chat and I'll read your comments of where you're joining from because I want to say hi and give a shout out to each one of you. An announcement that I'm really excited about is that I am done with my 3rd book. So it is currently it's being proofread by a few people. It's going to go to a professional editor next week. And then after that, I'll be working on formatting it. That takes a couple of weeks. So I don't know. Last time it took a week or 2 to get it formatted specifically for the Amazon self-publishing format and for Kindle, because it is going to be available in paperback and Kindle, just like my other books. As far as audiobook, I'll have that done in about 6 months. because that's a whole other project that I have to pay for. It costs about $1,000 to get an audiobook done. And so one step at a time, we'll get the written book out first, get that all stabilized, and then we'll do the audiobook next. So those of you who are perhaps vision impaired, hang on another 6 months and we'll get the audiobook to you, okay? So I've been keeping the title a secret, but I will tell you what the book is about. It is all about toxic and abusive spiritual teachers and the patterns to look out for. And it is an eye-opening book. Let me tell you, it is eye-opening. You might not even realize all the crap that goes on behind the scenes that is so much more than just the big nasty guru that you hear about on the news, the like gross cult leader or whatever. There's so much more going on in the New Age, metaphysical, and spiritual communities. And I pull the curtain, I pull the cover off, pull the veil off, and explain all of it so that you'll know what to look for when you're out and about in the spiritual world. Because if you're a spiritual seeker, you might be going to events or classes and you want to know what kind of red flags to look out for. So I'm really excited about that. The date that I plan to make the book live, published online, is September 1st. I might possibly make it live earlier or make it possible for you to pre-order. So keep your eyes open. The thing to do would be to sign up for my email list. So you'll get an announcement when the book comes out. Email list is at www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and just in the little text box, put your email in, and you'll also get like little free gifties. I'll send you emails that have free resources for the first few days that you've signed up. And then after that, I promise you, you're not going to get 10 emails a day. Is that annoying or what? The current trend that when you sign up for an email list, you get like 15 emails a day. I will send you like an email every couple of days with these new welcome gifts. And then after the welcome gifts are done, I'll send you an email at the most once a week, usually every other week, because less is more, guys. Less is more, right? So I announced the Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group, YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary YouTube channel, website with more resources and information on working with me. If you want information on my paid academy, for example, that's where you get mentoring with me. That's the only way to work with me right now. You can find information about that on www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And we already talked about the new book. So awesome. All right, so let's do shout outs, and then we're going to get into our topic of 5 different types of entities. This information that I'm going to share with you about 5 different types of entities is not information that I learned from a book or a workshop or a teacher teaching me about this. This is information that I've obtained through personal experience. I've had all the psychic gifts my whole life, and those psychic gifts have gotten stronger and stronger the more I've used them in my professional field, so that in the last 10, 15 years, my psychic abilities have grown a lot. Just like if you exercise any muscle, practice the piano every day for multiple hours a day, you're going to get really good. Even if you were born with natural ability, you're going to get super good if you practice every day. That's basically what happened with me. And so all the entities that I'm going to tell you about come from personal experience. And I've started using the word forensic lately, in that what I am telling you, what I teach, is based on forensic knowledge. Forensic, what I mean by that is like, I have had experiences and I'm observing and taking notes and keeping records and noticing patterns and So firsthand experiences, okay? So through psychic sight, psychic auditory experiences, psychic touch, psychic feeling, psychic knowing, all the clairs and beyond. So that's where all the information about these different entities comes from. Let's do our shout outs. Now that I made you all excited about what we're going to cover. And why do we need to know about the different types of entities? I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's creepy, but it's also interesting. I'm scrolling back to see all your comments. There we go. It's interesting, but also if you happen to have some kind of paranormal situation, it really helps if you have some idea of what you're dealing with, because then it's going to help direct how you're going to clear it. Hope says hi. iPhone says hi. Oh, and that's Rose, I think, is iPhone. Alexandra says hello, everyone. Anan says hi from California. I'm very excited about the book. Anan, I'm glad you were able to make it. I thought you weren't going to be able to make it. And I know who you are. I can't think of your name off the top of my head. Starts with a B. Anyway, you can stay anonymous. It's fine. Or maybe it doesn't start with a B. It totally fell out of my brain, but I know exactly who you are. Carrie Lynn says, hi, everyone from Queensland, Australia. Rose from San Antonio, Texas. Hope, hi, everybody. This is Hope from North Carolina, USA. Alexandra says, hi, everyone. I'm from Los Angeles, California. Congratulations, Maya, on book number 3. Catherine says, hey there, all from Triple Digit, California. Eek. Yeah, I'm in southern Arizona. I am about an hour from Tucson, and it is super hot here. And we're having monsoon season too. So usually it's dry in the desert, but for a couple of months out of the year, it gets humid and we have weird, crazy blowing rainstorms, and then it's hot and it's sunny and hot. Hope says, congratulations on your book, Maya. Yay! Awesome. What a great group of people here today. Oh, yes. And I remember Anan. I now remember your name, but I'm not going to say it just in case if you wanted to stay anonymous. I'm not going to say it, but I remember. It came back into my head. Okay, let me look at my notes here. Okay, so as we get into our 5 different types of entities, you can add comments or questions at any time. And unlike Facebook Live, which was weird in that if I didn't read your comments right away, they would disappear and I couldn't scroll all the way back to get to them. On Zoom, that's not the case. So even though I'm going to focus on teaching for a few minutes and I'm going to circle back around in a while to check questions, you can post comments and questions at any time and I will see them. Yay. So if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, anything to add about this topic as we're going, then feel free. So as I mentioned before, this information is based on what I see in my personal life and with clients. This is based on clairvoyance and all of the other clairs. Forensic evidence, basically, study through observation, not based on any like standard books, or even this information that I'm going to share with you is not even based on religious beliefs or holy books. And I mentioned that because we're going to talk about demons in our list. And I'm going to tell you not what the Bible says, but what I've seen. And it may or may not be aligned. I don't know. You can decide that for yourself. And also not based on any mythologies of any kind. I'm not going to be, I've read books that were about different entities, and they were basically, I could tell that the author had done a lot of mythology research. And mythology is cool and everything, but I was like, yeah, but have you actually seen these entities? It was just like a book on mythology. And like, if you run into this kind of fairy, then they want this kind of gift. And that's what this mythology book says. And I'm like, that doesn't resonate with me. I want to know, what have you had happen to you for real and what happened and how did you address it? And then also, I forgot to mention, so that this information is not based on any standard books, any holy books, or any religions. For example, there's a religious belief that demons are fallen angels. I'm not going to be addressing that. That is a religious or mythology, whatever, whichever your opinion is, belief. And I don't know exactly if they're fallen angels or not, or if that's just a story, but I'm going to tell you what I've seen. Okay. The other parts, if you have religious beliefs that fill in like the origins of some of these creatures, that's cool too. But I'm going to tell you what I've seen and what I've experienced. Okay. So we're going to cover 5 different types of entities, and then I'm going to give you a bonus one at the end. Bonus entity, not the actual entity, but just information about it. Let's be clear. Okay. Pardon the slurping. Okay, of course, we're going to start with demons. We're going to start with demons. And being that I am clairvoyant, I've got psychic sight. The lighting that I use for videos, I'm light sensitive. So I'm going to use my light blocking glasses. Out of vanity on the public classes, a lot of times I don't wear these, but I'm going to wear them right now because the light is affecting me. So I'm going to do self-care. Okay, demons is the first one on our list. It's first on our list because it is the most commonly known. It's the one that's talked about. In fact, in some religious traditions, I've noticed among certain groupings of people that kind of everything gets lumped as demons. Like anything that's paranormal or anything that's not, that doesn't fit with their religion is lumped as demonic or demons. And I want to be clear that that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about specific spiritual beings that I identify as demons. So demons are, these are very dark, oppressive, spiritual entities. They often have a very bad smell. So when their presence is near, it will often smell like something rotting or a sulfur smell. There's an evil energy, like even if you're not clairvoyant, you might get a sense of evil or dark kind of energy, like foreboding kind of energy. There is, in my observation, there is a hierarchy to these beings. And the hierarchy is important to acknowledge because depending on the level that they are in the hierarchy, they're going to look different and act different. So in the hierarchy, the lowest level of demons tend to be more creature-like beings. Now, they're not all the same looking type of creatures, but I'll give you an example that there are beings that I've seen, demonic beings that look like gargoyle type of creatures, little short creatures with wings. The lower end of the hierarchy, these are beings, these creature-like beings, whether they look like gargoyles or other types of creature, similar looking creatures, they're all very low in intelligence, very animal-like. Also, there would be like the hounds of hell, those kinds of creatures, demonic, animal-like creatures. And then as you get up to like more of the middle of the hierarchy, you have the demons that look more human in their features, that are human size, human looking face, human looking body. And they have some differences, though, in that the ones that I've seen, interestingly, have had horns. And in the instances when I've seen the horns, they have been, it's been when I've seen a demon superimposed over a human. So that means the physical human was there, but then I saw a spiritual being like overlaid also on top of the person physically. And so I would see the demon face and the horns. And so I've seen ones with little stubby horns. And then I've seen big curving ram's horns and other varieties in between. Why they have the horns, I do not know. But again, I'm sharing with you the forensic information of what I've seen. So, and then often these mid-level demons have either, so let me back up. I mentioned that I've seen them superimposed over a live person, but I've also seen them in spirit form on their own, not superimposed over a live person. And either way, their skin would look either normal color, like normal human color skin, or red skin, or gray skin, or grayish green. And there was one that I saw that was like this grayish green, and it was a him guy, and his skin looked very rubbery. One of the things that I've checked, just FYI, this is popping into my head, I think I'm supposed to share it. One of the things that I've checked psychically, because I was curious, and I'm a questioner. I'm questioning everything. I've questioned like every religious belief, the religious beliefs of my upbringing, the nature of reality, everything in between. And one of the things that I've questioned is, okay, what I've been seeing about demons, what I've seen so many times, is this the same as reptilians, which are a type of alien creatures? Because there are some crossover, the smell and the reptilian look, and sometimes the horns and things like that. But every time I have checked psychically, what I get is that these are not the same being, not the same type of beings. They're different. So this is a good example to point out here that sometimes there can be some similarities or some crossover in qualities, but that doesn't mean that it's the same thing. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into alien beings today. That is something that I could possibly teach in the future. In the free classes, I tend to focus more on the spiritual beings, but anyway, just wanted to bring that up. Now back onto demons, and then I do see some comments came through. I'll circle back around in a minute on those. So I was talking about mid-level demons and how they tend to have the horns. And then there's a higher level, not high vibrational, not positive, beneficial, but higher in the hierarchy of demons. And some of them do look humanoid to me, human looking, but when I've seen the higher level ones, they are higher intelligence, and they're also much more insidious and dangerous, believe it or not, because the mid-level ones are bad enough, but these high level ranking ones, they're extremely intelligent, and I've tended to not see the standard demon features like the horns with the more highly intelligent ones. They just look more like a human to me. They are very psychopathic and powerful. And some of these higher up in the hierarchy demons are more, they have less of a human look, and they're more just a dark energy, more of a primordial dark energy. So we've got the lowest level, that's like these creature beings. Mid-level, that looks more like maybe demons that you may have seen in like kind of sort of like demons that you've seen in Hollywood movies, maybe, although Hollywood makes things kind of goofy, right? But sort of like that. And then the higher up hierarchy are almost like more spiritual energy, dark, dark, dark. These high level hierarchy demons are the ones that we hear about when someone is possessed in more of the standard demonic possession sort of way, where they are like vomiting and speaking foreign languages and screaming and levitating to the ceiling and having to have exorcisms. That kind of extreme possession, where that is extremely rare, but does happen, is more, it occurs more from the higher ranking demons. The mid-level demons also possess people, but it's less dramatic. It's not the levitation. It's more the person that you encounter at the grocery store, where you meet eyes with them and you realize, you have this realization, although you can't prove it, that there is an evil presence within them. That is a person that is embodying, could be a demon, it could be something else. Those kinds of possessions that are more subtle, but if you are paying attention, you will notice that there are plenty of people walking around with one or more demons either inside of them or next to them, and those would be more of the mid-level demons. There are also specific types of demons that are focused very much on sexual energy. So these are vampiric types of demons that are sourcing sexual energy. There are the incubi and succubi that will suck sexual energy. That's a subcategory of a type of demon. Demons in general, one of the main things that they will do, especially the mid-level demons, is they enjoy giving people what many of us call OCD thought loops, obsessive thought loops, negative thoughts. They will put these negative thoughts into people's minds to harm self or others. They actually love creating the energy of suffering. And they, the most common way that they will do that is through mental suffering, negative thought loops. That's the most common approach of demons just in our everyday world. So like these demonic entities are very prevalent, not just in haunted areas that feel super dark and smell like sulfur, but demonic beings are pretty widespread, and these mid-level demonic beings are projecting these negative thoughts into people to cause suffering. And then, of course, the even more dangerous types of demons, whether they're the creature-like or the mid-range or the high-level hierarchy beings, these will be located in the places where the energy feels super, super, super dark. If you are someone who has had issues with negative spiritual targeting, if you've had issues with being bothered by entities, I do not recommend that you go on ghost hunting tours where there's, a house where there's evil spirits or demons, because those who have a history with being targeted are going to come home with lots of attachments, and we don't want that for you. So whether it's demons or other entities. Okay, before we go on to number 2, now all of that's kind of creepy, right? But I don't know about you, but I would rather know what's what. I had an encounter when I was walking through Walmart. I think I talk about this in my first book, Darkness Disguised as Light. I was walking through Walmart and there were two guys that I knew just by looking at them that they each had a demon controlling them. And these guys started following me through Walmart. And um, nothing bad happened. Everything was fine. I was safe. But I think we need to have an awareness. We need to know what's out there. And we need to start trusting our own spidey sense. Like when you sense that there's something like a negative presence attached to a location or a person, trust that spidey sense, right? Because there's a lot more going on than people would like to believe. And I'm going to tell you that there are plenty of people who've called me crazy. I don't talk about this very often because I don't want to draw attention to it. But there are plenty of people who've called me crazy because I've pointed things out spiritually and I've said, look, this is this is this. And they're like, no, it's not. I pointed out that a person in the Catholic Church was channeling a super dark entity. And they were like, that's not happening. You're crazy. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I know what I see. But that's fine, you know. So my point being, if you sense something or you see something or you know something spiritual, I want to encourage you to trust it. And I would also encourage you to be thoughtful about who you share it with, because a lot of people will, if they haven't had the same sense, it's very easy for people to call others crazy when they don't see the same thing as you. Catherine says, I call humans demons when they have cruel and harmful behavior and neglect towards others, children, and animals. And there are a lot of demons and other negative entities that are controlling humans, working either in tandem with humans that already have a dark streak and or encouraging dark behaviors toward other humans or animals, destruction and harm. Hope says, can you see them with your third eye? I am very lucky in that I'm able to pick up on things in multiple ways, often in the same experience. So it's different each time, but sometimes I will see something. So I'll see it, like you said, with my brow chakra. So, but I don't see it here. I see it with my eyes, but my your brow chakra is what allows clairvoyance to happen. So I'll see it, and then I also know it, and I sense it and I feel it. So it might be that. It could be, I also might get a physical sensation, or I also might hear something. So it tends to, all the clairs, as they call them, the different clair abilities, they tend to blend for me, which tends to give a more comprehensive amount of information rather than just sight. So let's see, what else have we? Does anyone want to add anything? Because I know this is, because of time, like I could teach a whole class just on demons, but this is not an exhaustive list. So if there's anything that you feel is really important to add, feel free to. Anon says, interesting you use the word overlay because that's how I see things too in my head. I've also heard demons or negative beings have black or red eyes. Good point. The eyes, sometimes they will have black or red eyes. Have you seen demons or negative beings in that way? My mother, who raised me, so I was adopted when I was a baby. And so my mom, I believe now as an adult, I believe that she was demonically possessed. There were multiple times when I saw her eyes turn black. When that happened, there was no one else there with me. So I have not tried to get anyone else in my family to admit or agree, because this is the kind of thing that people are like, that's that's just too weird. I couldn't possibly believe that. And so they just kind of close it off. But with all the work that I do and the clients that I've worked with, I have finally accepted, like, oh, well, yeah, and her voice would change from a female voice. All of a sudden she'd have a male voice to be talking about killing herself and murdering people. And this happened a lot when I was in high school, and I was the youngest in the family when I was I was the last one at home. And so the other kids weren't there, and I was witnessing these things. So I saw that with a real person. And then with the demons, most of my observations, what I've noticed has been the horns, the skin, the feeling that I would get from them. But I have had a few situations with the eyes being red. So when I would see them spiritually, the eyes being red or all black. Yes. But for me, I would more frequently notice the horns and the skin. Anand says, do you also recommend psychically vulnerable people also avoid graveyards? They always give me the creeps and avoid them. Well, I would avoid going to a graveyard at night. Like, if you're just going there to creep around, I wouldn't do that. But if you're going there to visit a loved one, I don't think you need to be afraid to go there. I don't think you need to be afraid to go anywhere, really, but just be cautious. I wouldn't go in the middle of the night. I was out walking with somebody, and we walked by a graveyard, and we saw spirits, and there was one that like blew right past me. And there's a lot of activity in graveyards. But there's a lot of activity everywhere. It's not just graveyards. So it's up to you. I wouldn't go lurking around graveyards at night just because, if you're spiritually sensitive. Catherine says, I wonder if a baby or child would respond to their mother's eyes turning black, but not realizing why, but feel scared. Oh, I don't know. That makes me wonder what my baby version of myself felt when my adopted mother was holding me, if she had that demonic presence with her. I was probably like, this is not what I agreed to. What the hell? Okay, so now light blocking glasses. Okay, number 2. Where are we on time? Number 2 type of entity is the jinn. Jinn. And it can be spelled DJINN or JIN or JINN. These are a type of entity that are spoken about in the Muslim holy book, the Quran. But in my forensic observation, these entities are everywhere. I have commonly heard people verbally lump jinn together with demons, and just like say that basically they're the same thing. That then in the Quran they talk about demons, but they just call them jinn. No, I'm telling you, I have had various encounters with jinn, and they are not demons, and they are very different than demons. Okay. So jinn are not just in the Middle East. I wonder if maybe they were more located there, but in the past. But in my observation, I have seen them in a number of places in the United States, and I've worked with clients all over the world, and it's who've had jinn issues, and it's pretty widespread. So they're often equated with demons, but that is incorrect. In my opinion, jinn are even more dangerous than demons. And I'll get to that in just a minute. So the biggest thing about jinn is that they are shapeshifters. Now, there's always some crossover with some of these spiritual entities, demons, which we just talked about, sometimes will pretend to be other beings. But in my observation, jinn entities are the master shapeshifters. Like that is their main thing that they do. That is their MO. The natural form for jinn is plasma, like electricity or kind of like fire, but without flames. Okay, so in the Quran, they are said to be made of flameless fire, which is plasma. It's of an energy. So they are energy beings. So in their regular form, like their most basic form, they are energy. And they shapeshift into various forms. And they are so good at shapeshifting that people who don't know about jinn, and I used to be one of those people, I didn't used to know about jinn years ago. These shapeshifters will shift into a variety of different things. And if you don't know any better, you'll think that what you're seeing is actually true. So they'll shapeshift into animals, loved ones, angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, aliens, fairies and elementals, anything. They will, oh, I've seen them shapeshift into like the pantheon of ancient gods and goddesses, like you name it, anything. They will shapeshift. In fact, one of the things that they can do that's unique about jinn is that one jinn can shapeshift into multiple things at the same time. So for example, I saw a jinn shapeshift and transform itself into multiple different kinds of elementals. So the room was like a fairyland. There were fairies and other kinds of earth spirits all over the room. And it was that one entity. I've also seen jinn on numerous occasions pretend to be a council of angels, one jinn being a council of angels. I've seen one jinn shapeshift, pretend to be a council of benevolent aliens. I've observed one jinn pretend to be a whole pantheon of these ancient gods and Greek goddesses, gods and goddesses. And so they can do any of this, and of course, they can pretend to be just one being. One of the most common things that jinn do is they will pretend to be someone's spirit guide. And when they do that, the person welcomes them in. Jinn love to be adored and worshipped. They are psychopaths. What was the other quality that they're narcissistic, really. I guess that's the right word that I want to use. They love attention, they love worship, they love being adored. So if they can pretend to be like even Jesus, God, or angels or whatever will incur worship, they love that. And it's a very like energy vampire kind of thing. They will just absorb that. If that doesn't work, then they will shapeshift into something scary. They'll also shapeshift into demons. I had a jinn that was trying very hard to trick me. This jinn did not know that I had had previous jinn encounters and that I knew how jinn operate. And so like my sense that I got was it had never encountered somebody like me. I'm not saying that I'm special. I'm saying I just had information that other people didn't have, past experiences that other people didn't have. Because when I went to this New Age bookstore and there was a jinn in the back area, this jinn thought it could hook on to me, and it went through a whole cycle. It pretended to be multiple different kinds of beings. And I was like, nope, you're not what you say you are. It was like, we are benevolent aliens from the Council of Orion, and we want to channel messages to you about the cosmos and about reality. We understand that you're a spiritual seeker, and we want to help you um, uh, channel these important messages for humanity, and you can be this important person in the world. And I remember thinking, oh, so this is how jinn work. They try to hook into somebody's ego, like, well, you can be a really important person channeling messages for all of humanity. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be fooled, because I already know how jinn operate. And I said, no, I know that you're not who you say that you are. So it tried to be a few different things. It switched from the Council of Aliens to gods and goddesses. It just like kept switching to different things. And then when that didn't work, it shapeshifted into demons, and it was trying to scare me. So that's a tricky thing, is that jinn can pretend to be evil spirits, demons, and it's not even actual demons. It's jinn shapeshifting into whatever. I want you to think of, I don't know if you're familiar with the stories of the Catholic saints. Many of the Catholic saints that had experiences with communion with God or the angels, and they would go into a state of ecstasy. They would kneel down, and they would be like, their face would be looking up, and they would be in this state of ecstasy. And then a few minutes later, that thing that they were in ecstasy with would change into a demon or demons, and then the saint, would be tortured. And in my belief, that those are jinn experiences. Okay. So jinn, they will present as something benevolent so that you will welcome it in. But then they like to cause chaos and suffering and confusion. So it really fits their MO to like create a situation of spiritual ecstasy and then torture. That's very jinn oriented. They will create chaos, confusion, drama, even missing time. They will cause bends in reality, so you're not even sure what's real anymore. They'll cause wildlife to act really weird. Sometimes you'll feel like you're losing your mind because you're losing your grip on reality, because the jinn is trying to get you to think that you're losing your mind. So this is like way over the top psychopathic, way more than demons. Demons that are, quote, just evil and dark. We have a whole other level of Machiavellianism with the jinn that's like so dark and psychopathic. Okay. They are the jinn are extremely dangerous. And comparing demons to jinn, demons within the Catholic Church, the exorcism process, they will yell and do prayers and be very forceful about sending the demon out, about making the demon leave. If you do that with a jinn, the jinn will like the backlash will be so severe and dangerous. I do not recommend ever taking direct boundaries with jinn. I don't ever, like, I'm all about healthy boundaries. My experience with setting firm boundaries, direct boundaries with jinn, and being like, you need to leave now, da 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 da. The response is the response of a psychopath that does not respect boundaries. They will cause your pets to die. They will cause your loved ones to die. They will, the retaliation is not good. Okay. So be very careful if you're dealing with a jinn. You don't want to have the same process that you do with demons. You want to ignore. So jinn will try to talk to you also telepathically. So a common thing with jinn is that they will send their booming voice into your skull, either through your third eye or just into your skull. You'll hear a booming voice. They might tell you that it's the voice of your spirit guide, but it's a booming voice. Or if you realize that it's a jinn, either way, it's a booming voice. And they will, I just lost my train of thought, but they will not respect boundaries. So what now I just got it back. What they will do is they will try to keep communicating and keep connected with you. So one of the common things that they will do is pretend to be a person's spirit guide or spirit lover or something like that. And then they keep talking to you. They keep talking to you. And then the mistake that people make is they keep engaging with it. They will talk back to it. They will listen to it. The jinn will lie to them and tell them this, and this is going to happen to you if you don't do what I say. And it's all mind games. It's psychological warfare. And the only way to play with a jinn is to ignore. It's like literally putting your hands in your ears and saying, la, 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 I can't hear you. And then you have to be very mentally strong and refocus your mind, focus away from it. It is trying to get your attention, and you have to starve it by not giving it attention. If you give it attention by yelling at it and saying, you need to leave, get out of my space, it will ramp up even worse. If you feel that you are dealing with a jinn, I recommend working with me or someone else who knows about jinn, because they are pretty dangerous. Sometimes people will think that they are dealing with a jinn because they feel like there's something really dark with them. But as I just described, jinn have a whole other level of all these other weird qualities that just don't exist with these other types of entities. Okay, because now we're going to get into number 3, which is ghosts. But we have a couple comments, and let's read those. Yeah, I do want to give you a tool right off the top. This is not going to fix everything, but I love to, I don't want to give you all this negative information and then not at least something that you can use to help minimize if you are having some entity issues. Your number 1 top beneficial, easy tool, physical tool that you don't need any special spiritual knowledge for. Your special, easy tool for negative entities, any on this list, is to burn frankincense resin. And there's information on that, I think, in my first book. Yeah, in my first book, Darkness Disguised as Light, there's instructions on that. There's also an entire chapter at the end of the Psychic Attack Sourcebook where I give a variety of beginner level tools. The beginner level tools, when I say beginner level, it doesn't mean that they're not helpful. They're actually very foundational tools that you should have under your belt. You should have them on your empowerment tool belt, no matter what, to help you. And then if you need more advanced help, then you can maybe consider signing up for my mentoring program. But simply burning frankincense resin will give you some relief. If you're dealing with a super serious like demonic infestation in your home, it's not going to just magically all of a sudden clear all of that out. But if you burn frankincense resin on a regular basis, it's definitely going to help bring relief. And it's like getting rid of a bug infestation. You wouldn't use it just once and be like, oh, it's fine now. Or you want to brush your teeth just once and say, I don't need to brush my teeth ever again. That would be gross. So you're going to do it regularly. And that is just a really easy, inexpensive tool that you can use to help bring you relief. But of course, when we get into complicated things like demonic attachments, jinn attachments, sometimes we have like the core, like the root original point of the issue might be ancestral or past life. And burning frankincense isn't going to fix that. It's going to give relief, but it's not going to get to the root core. And we get to the root core in the Spiritual Empowerment Academy. But the frankincense will give you some relief. So Anon says, do demons jump from one person and attach to another? Any negative entities can person hop. Even if you're walking through, I worked with a lady who got a spirit attachment just by walking through the airport. And this is not to scare you. It's just like, what I would say is get my second book, the Psychic Attack Sourcebook, and read the last chapter that gives clearing tips, and develop your own procedure for daily grounding and discharging negative energy. It's just like every day you need to take a shower, or at least a few times a week, hopefully. Because if you don't, you're going to get a pile up of dirt and muck and BO. And it's the same as thing with walking out in the world. Sometimes stuff can attach to you, even if you are high vibration, stuff can still attach. And so if you have a daily procedure, just like brushing your teeth, combing your hair, daily physical maintenance, you want to do your spiritual maintenance. The more you're on top of your daily maintenance, those kinds of things are not going to stay attached. So let's say you're at Walmart and there's some weird Wookiee attaches to you. If you do your daily process, whatever that might be, then all of that is going to get cleared off. So it's like nothing is going to have a chance to burrow deeply. So that is some words of affirmation for you, so you don't have to be worried about going out into the world. But if you're spiritually sensitive, you want to have some kind of a process for clearing your energy, not in a fear-based way, but just in a daily maintenance sort of way. Okay. Alexandra says, I heard from some Muslims that they have a theory that jinn, Japanese yokai, elementals, and fae from all over the world may possibly be the same entities. They describe the same smokeless fire. I actually have read a book called The Vengeful Jinn by Rosemary Guiley. And she also basically says she thinks that it's a possibility that elementals and basically all of these other entities in the world are all jinn. And while I respect that opinion, and I respect the opinion that you say that you've heard that some Muslims have said that, I don't agree with that. Based on my own forensic observations and what I've seen lots of fairies that I truly believe, and I've seen other types of entities. I truly believe and know, and I can see and I can feel that they are not anything like jinn. They don't feel like jinn. They don't act like jinn. But I have seen jinn that have shapeshifted into fairies. So I think that's where it gets confusing. I think that I was lucky and unlucky enough to have a major encounter with a jinn in 2016 that that experience paired with some of the natural abilities that I already had made it so that I had and have this certain level of discernment where I can tell, where I know if an entity, this is an actual fairy, this is a jinn pretending to be a fairy. And I can't tell you how I can discern that. It's a special ability that I have. I'll emphasize again, it doesn't mean that I'm special or anything like that. It's just, I think through the trauma of the situation that I went through, it woke up that ability. So based on my ability to discern that there are, for example, real fairies, genuine, authentic fairies, and there are jinn pretending to be fairies. There are real angels. There are jinn pretending to be angels, etc. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a good question. Catherine says, so many people are channeling online, and I guess we can't really trust any of them because, oops, I just lost it. I guess we can't really trust any of them because how can we be sure? You nailed it. You nailed it, Catherine. Based on what I've seen with the jinn agenda, the jinn have really infiltrated the new age, and they're having so much fun working with a lot of very good-hearted, well-meaning spiritual healers, channelers who think that they are channeling messages for humanity. And it was a blessing and not a blessing that even after my major encounter with a jinn in 2016, in 2020, so I kind of have skipped around in my experiences, but in 2020, after moving to Tucson, that's when I had another encounter with a jinn. That's the one that I was telling about, that was pretending to be all these different things in a council of aliens, and then gods and goddesses, and then demons, and it was like trying to convince me. And it was that experience when it was trying to be the council of we are the council of Orion. That's when it was like this aha, and I went, oh, now I understand why it's like I totally got it. The approach that jinn take with spiritual people like me, like you, who are genuine, authentic, well-meaning spiritual seekers. That thing was trying every which way to get me to channel messages for it. And it was saying, we're going to help you to help humanity by sharing these important messages. And I remember even as it was happening, I was like, wow, this is really very good. I could see why most people would be convinced by this. It's extremely convincing. And that's what's happening. So I personally would not trust any channeled messages. When I bring in messages, my intention is to tap into inner wisdom and to not be calling on messages from random entities. If anybody is calling in messages from entities, I would question everything that they say. Sometimes there's truth, and usually there's like 80% truth with channeled messages and 20% lies. And that's the same as how a psychopathic person would do it. A psychopathic person who's trying to trick people would not give 100% lies because no one would believe that. So they will give a lot of lovely truths. Dear ones, do not be afraid. We are here. Humanity is awakening and we're here to help you, blah, 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 ad nauseum, right? Exactly. That's my opinion. But, I'm just sharing with you what I've seen and what I have come to believe based on what I've seen. I don't need you to agree with me on channeling, but I'm just saying this to everybody if you don't agree. But I do believe very firmly that this is what's happening with channeling now. It's almost entirely false messages. Unfortunately, sorry to be the bearer of bad news. You can use that opinion however you wish. Anon says, yes, I've been turned off the channelings of a group of entities, or if the person says only they can channel famous entity, or the famous entity only wants to work with them. Yeah, that definitely sounds questionable. Catherine says, I am using my favorite laundry detergent by Zoom that is frankincense and myrrh. So, and I'm so in love with the smell of my clean laundry. That is wonderful. I love that stuff. Um, just FYI for everybody listening and watching, a smoke cleanse, like actually burning frankincense, is going to be way more powerful for cleansing your space. And we also don't know how much of the frankincense and myrrh is synthetic or if it's actual frankincense oil. Frankincense oil is pretty expensive. My guess is that it does smell lovely, but it's probably synthetic oil. It's synthetic fragrance oil, which is fine. It's like, I think the company is legitimate and fine. But if it's synthetic, it's not going to have the same effect as the actual plant medicine. You probably already know that, Catherine, but I'm just explaining that for the benefit of everyone else. Carrie Lynn, can you have ancestral gin? Yes. I'm glad you asked that. That's why we are all here together as a group, because sometimes there are things I don't mention that are really important. So gin can sometimes be passed down through generations. It's a gin that's following the family, or it can follow one individual soul from lifetime to lifetime. Two of the most common reasons why there would be a gin, actually, I'm going to say three. Three common reasons why a jinn would be messing with someone. Number one, retaliation and revenge. Something happened in a past lifetime, way back, and that thing is bent on revenge and is following the person from lifetime to lifetime. Reason number two, the jinn is in love with the person, and not a good kind of love. It's like a psychopathic, psycho kind of love, controlling, abusive, quote, love. It's not real love. And that jinn is following the person from lifetime to lifetime. Okay. And then the third reason why a person might have a jinn issue is they've accidentally, just like an accidental encounter. And I'm going to add a fourth one, and this is related to what I've been talking about in New Age, is that when somebody starts doing a lot of channeling, jinn and other types of shapeshifter entities will often come in and attach to the person. So that's another reason. Okay, let's get into ghosts. These other ones are not as complicated as the first two. I need to get a drink, all this talking. Ghosts. When I say the word ghosts, I mean, oh, actually, let me answer this question. If jinn can shapeshift into pretty much everything, how can we tell if we're dealing with a genuine angel or ascended master? This is a question by Anon. That is a great question. There's not an easy answer, but the answer that I'm going to give is that you have to develop your spidey sense, your intuition. One of the things that I've noticed is that this is just the truth. The students who've gone through my academy, who've spent a lot of time with me, they have an amazing, like, it just blows me away, the amazing sense that they have developed about false light. Whether it's jinn or other types of entities that are negative entities posing as benevolent. And I think it's like all the time that we spend together and all of the opportunities for practice, for discernment. And most of the other people that I encounter out in the world, including colleagues who are very good at what they do, like psychics and spiritual healers and things, they don't have the discernment with jinn and false light, and they're channeling stuff that's not benevolent. So that's just the truth of what I see. So the answer is you've got to develop your discernment. And the people that I work with regularly, they have the highest level of discernment. But you could work on it on your own. Just keep practicing. And there's a whole lesson on psychic development in my first book, The Psychic Attack. My first book, Darkness Disguised as Light, has a whole lesson on different psychic abilities. Keep developing your abilities and question everything. You've got to question everything. Anything appears to you. I will say one thing, red flag for if it's false. If it comes through really strong and powerful, loud voice, or like super clear visually, and it says that it's your spirit guide or whatever, or counsel of whoever, it's probably jinn or some other type of false light entity. Because authentic, genuine spiritual beings don't come through in such a loud way. The fake ones come through really loud. Okay. Let's see what we got here. And Rose says, I believe a lot of this channeling is meant to put us to sleep so that evil can prevail, especially if it denies that evil exists. Yes, a lot of the channeled messages talk about that evil doesn't exist, evil entities don't exist, and let's all celebrate because we're all ascending into 5D. And that's not happening, but it's all to it's all to numb us out, make us believe that everything is all fine. That's my opinion. And I agree with you, Rose. Catherine says, I'm concerned that the smoke from resin burning will set off the 2 alarms in my small apartment. Can you speak to this? Is there any other way to get the protection inside? So yeah, some people are not able to use smoke, or they have sensitivities, lung issues, or health issues, or pets, and they're not able to do smoke cleanses. And I totally understand that. One thing that you can do is I have recipes for this in my academy. This is energy clearing spray that you can create using essential oils. And this is just a spray around me, but I have a great big bottle that I use to spray all through my space. And that can be helpful as well. Putting frankincense essential oil, little pinch of salt, other essential oils. Again, I have recipes in the academy, but that should hopefully get you started. Just remember, if you're using essential oils, if you use the cheap kind, they're probably fake synthetic, and they're not going to do anything to help you energetically. So you're going to have to invest a little bit of money to get the expensive stuff, but less is more when it comes to essential oils. You could literally just use 1 drop of frankincense in this whole bottle, and that will help you. But if you buy cheap frankincense essential oil, it's not going to help you at all. So buy the expensive stuff, invest in it once, and then that bottle of more expensive real essential oil is going to take you a long way, because you could just use 1 drop. And it'll take you forever to get through your whole bottle of essential oils. Oh gosh, we have so many questions. Great questions. Anon says, I have heard so many messages about negative entities, beings are a part of you, i.e. let it in. Really bad advice. This is different from real shadow work. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, and I just, I pull my hair out. I've heard a lot of podcasts where people who say, and I don't mean any offense to anybody, but people who say that they specialize in entity removal and psychic protection, and they're on a podcast talking about how entities don't actually exist, that it's actually just a projection of your own inner shadow. And if you just love yourself and just call that thing into you, then everything will be okay. And I'm like, no. I mean, I have worked with people that had aspects of their inner shadow that needed to be addressed, that were acting, the inner shadow was acting as an entity. I've worked with that in some of my cases, but most of the time people are dealing with real entities. So it's terrible advice that these people are giving. Oh, but oh well, I can't be the energy police. All I can do is get on Zoom and rant to you guys and anyone else who will listen. But I can't chase all the other healers around and tell them what to do. Okay, I'm going to hold off on any more questions, and I'm going to get through these other ones pretty quick because we've only got about 10 more minutes left. This has been great, you guys. Okay, ghosts. Got to put on my light blocking glasses. Ghosts is the term that I use for discarnate human souls, humans who are no longer alive. This is the remnant of their spiritual energy, their soul, their spirit, whatever you want to call it. A ghost can be neutral, good or bad, or anywhere along the spectrum, just like any human being, a live human being. People on the planet are the whole spectrum of good, bad, and everything in between. The same thing is true for ghosts. We need to get rid of the idea that as soon as people pass away, they're suddenly all good, like an angel. No, if someone was a evil person in their life, they're probably going to be just as evil in spiritual form. As a medium, someone who connects with those on the other side, I do see that once people pass away and they're not in their body anymore, sometimes they will actually lift up a few vibrational levels and become a little bit of a better person. Sometimes they'll actually drop down and become a little more evil, a little more dark. But no matter where they are on the spectrum, they are a discarnate human soul. And when I talk about ghosts, I'm talking about ghosts who are stuck on the earth plane, not to be confused with souls who safely pass over to the afterlife. So souls who safely pass over to the afterlife. Okay. What we're talking about here are souls who chose to stay or got scared or confused and didn't go over to the afterlife, and they're still here on the earth plane. I could do a whole class just on ghosts and why they stay and all of that. I'm not going to do that today. But one of the points that I want to bring across is that this is my opinion, and I know not everyone agrees, that it is not beneficial to have any ghosts attached to you or in your house. Like, come on, they need to be moving to the afterlife. Let's not allow them to just hang out in your house. And by default, the way that they can maintain their spiritual life force energy is by sucking energy from living beings, animals, and people. So just by being in your house, they're actually absorbing the energy of the living humans. And that's an energy vampire situation. We don't want that. So be nice and say some prayers or call in a medium to help you if you want, to help them move on to the other side. And then when we're talking about the more evil and dark spectrum of ghosts, I have encountered some ghosts that felt very similar to demons in their level of darkness. When I was in my 20s, I lived in a haunted farmhouse, and there was an evil ghost there that was super, super dark. It was not a demon, so it was not part of the demonic race. It was not one of those beings. It was a human soul, but it was super evil, super dark. So some human souls can match that similar level of the darkness and evil of demonic as well. Okay, number 4 is one that you may or may not have heard of before. These are called thought form entities. This is not the same as thoughts. Thought form entities, or tulpas, T-U-L-P-A, a tulpa, This is an energy being, an entity that is created through focused thought. So it's an entity, it is a consciousness that is created through focused thought, emotion, and intention. So a thought form entity can be created through mental or emotional focus by simply a regular person focusing on a particular belief in an entity. Or a thought form entity can be created by ritual or black magic. So a dark magician can use their occult knowledge to create an entity or entities for the purpose of healing, protection, or psychic attack. So usually they will send the thought form entity out to someone. So they'll create it through their ritual, through their focused intent, and then they'll send it out. And let me see if I left anything out. One of the tricky things about thought form entities is if it's created through ritual or black magic, sometimes the practitioner will create a thought form entity to look like demons or a demon or something scary. And it's not actually a demon. It's a thought form entity created by a dark magician. And that gets really tricky and confusing. Like what? How? Again, just like with the jinn and the false light entities, how do you tell the difference? That's where I come in. That's one of my gifts, is being able to discern all of that. I've had the gift of discernment of spirits for a long time. And when I clairvoyantly see a spiritual entity that's a thought form entity, how it looks to me is it's kind of see-through. It's not fully formed compared to an actual demon or an actual whatever kind of entity. So when it's a thought form entity, to me it looks kind of see-through, or if it appears that it's not fully formed. Thought form entities, in my experience, are the easiest to clear, as well as neutral and benevolent ghosts. You can just ask them to leave, and they're like, okay, I'll leave. Thought form entities are typically, it depends on the magician that's created them, though, but they're typically not as powerful. If there's a thought form entity made to look like a demon, it's not going to be as powerful as an actual demon. It's simply there to mess with you psychologically and make you scared, make you basically psychically attack yourself, because you're like spinning out and freaking out that there's this stuff attacking you, and it's all smoke and mirrors. It's thought form entities. I've also seen, kind of similar to what Anon mentioned, this is kind of related. I've seen situations where I've seen a few situations where a person's own unhealed inner wounds, their unhealed inner shadow was unhealed for so long, and there was so much going on with the person that over time, their unhealed shadow, their unhealed emotional wounds actually became a thought form entity. It developed a consciousness of its own, and it was attacking the person. I've seen that happen a few times. Okay, let's talk about elementals. Elementals also, let me back up. Elementals is the umbrella term for earth spirits, fairies, gnomes, elves, various other kinds of earth spirits. Again, I could do a whole class just on elementals. 30 years ago, when I was talking with friends at the time, the friends that I had at that time, which are kind of at a different level than where I'm at now, when I mentioned my interest in fairies and elementals, they said, oh, be careful. Elementals and fairies and all that, they can be tricksters, they can be evil. And I was like, okay. And ever since then, I have had almost entirely beneficial, benevolent, positive experiences with elementals. And the reason for that, I think, is because I am truly a nature lover and a very respectful of nature and very respectful of the earth spirits and the plants and the trees and the animals and all of that. And elementals, earth spirits, fairies, etc., they recognize people who are genuinely respectful of the earth. And so they're not going to tend to mess with people like that. But elementals, earth spirits, can become angry if you encroach on their territory. So let's say you move into, like, you buy some land, you buy some property, and you start building a home and you start having weird paranormal experiences. It could be that the elementals or the earth spirits are unhappy. And a lot of times, you can simply apologize or give them gifts. And you can say prayers for the land. You can leave little gifts on the land. Be nice and bless the land. And you're most likely going to do okay when it comes to the negative elementals. Now, obviously, there are cases where are some really nasties, but we don't have time to get into that today. But the biggest advice that I have is be respectful of the land where you're living, even if it's just a little tiny yard that you have. Be respectful of nature, and you're not going to have too many problems with the elementals. Okay. The only time I encountered a negative elemental was when I was camping in Missouri near a river, and it was at a campground. And I had a visitation by an angry elemental when I was sleeping. I do receive a lot of information in my dreams. And when I was sleeping, I met this was definitely not a dream. I just know, you know how you know what you know? I know it was not just a dream. This was a visitation. When I woke up, I knew this was something real. I met this male fairy, and he was very irritable. He was very irritable because he did not like all these people on his area of land. They were messing things up. They were noisy. They were leaving trash. He did not like that at all. I was only visiting for a couple of days. I wasn't able to like really help him, but that was informative. He wasn't, I wouldn't call him evil. I would say he was very irritable. He was not happy about, he was angry. He was not happy about what was happening on the area that he called home. Okay, so even though we're out of time, I'm just going to really quick give the extra one. I said I was going to give 5. Elementals was number 5. I'm going to just really quickly touch on the extra one that I promised I would touch on, which we've already kind of talked about. The extra type of entity that I'm going to mention is false light entity. So we've talked about demons, we've talked about jinn, we've talked about ghosts, thought form entities, elementals. Remember, this is not an exhaustive list. There are more entities than just these, but for time's sake, these are the 5 most common that I wanted to talk about. So the thing that we want to know about false light entities is that any on this list that I just gave you, this 5, or any others, including alien beings, any that are negative beings that are posing as beings of light, any negative entity or any negative being that's posing as a benevolent being, your spirit guide, Jesus, Mary, ancestors, ascended masters, loved one, like any angels, all those things, whatever kind of benevolent being that it might pretend to be. So the umbrella term that I use is false light entity, is any type of negative being that's pretending to be a being of light. So it's a dark, and it's actually a dark entity, but it's pretending to be light. Jinn are the most common type of false light entity, but there are evil ghosts, that can try to pretend to shapeshift. They're not as good at shapeshifting as jinn. There are demons that might shapeshift. There are other types of entities that might pretend to be beings of light. So that's the term that I call false light entity. Okay, I want to open it up for like 1 minute only. If you have any burning questions, and then I need to go lead a group healing session. Although I'd love to stay longer with you guys today. I loved all your questions. Great questions. Now let me just change to my reading glasses and see if we have anything. Yeah, thanks so much, you guys. Really appreciate all of you. I'm going to be sending out an email this Thursday. So this is the first week of July 2024. I'm going to be sending out an email with a really important announcement about a special offering. So if you're not already on my email list, you can sign up for the email list at psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And you'll get the announcement. And then also, if you're on the email list, when my third book comes out, you'll get an announcement. And I promise I will not send you 15 emails a day because that's so annoying. And Rose says, thank you so much, Maya. Anand says, awesome lesson as always, Maya. Hope says, thank you, Maya. Enjoyed it. Catherine says, thank you so much. Can't wait for your next book. Alexandra says, thank you, Maya. Really grateful for this class and many blessings. Thank you so much, everybody. And just a reminder, because I really want you to feel like you have resources. So if you're just starting in this journey and you're struggling with even minor to severe psychic protection issues, either psychic attack, black magic, or entity issues, then I encourage you to get the book, The Psychic Attack Sourcebook on Amazon. And that's a very economical way that you can get a ton of information about what's happening to you, and then a lot of good foundational information on how to get started with clearing it. But depending on the severity of your issue and how long you've had it, how long you've had the issue, you might need some support and mentoring. That is possible. And if that's you, then consider signing up for the Academy. It's a 12-month mentoring program with me. And it is specifically to help you get totally clear of the issues. That's what I help people do. And that's, you can find information on that at psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. So I think that's it for announcements. Thank you so much, everybody. This was, even though the topic was serious, it's always fun getting together with you guys. I love seeing your faces and feeling your energy. And I want to say one final thing. Because I've been focusing on my book and on the students in my paid academy, I don't spend as much time in the free Facebook group, but I'm very committed to still continuing to do these free classes once a month. So I don't plan to stop that anytime soon. So hang in there in the free Facebook group. We're not as active. I'm not as active in there as I used to be, but we're still going to keep this connection once a month as a community. Okay. So thank you so much. And I will see you next month. Remember, we have our free classes the first Tuesday of the month, every month. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Lots of love. Love you guys.